Hello, amazing artists, and welcome back to Art Class with Mr. Mazer. This week, we're going to be drawing a James Rizzi style cityscape and adding lots and lots of wonderful details. So you're going to need a piece of paper. You can print out the guide that I gave you, or just look at the screen and go off of that, a ruler and a pencil. And I've clearly outlined the 4 steps that we're going to do this week on the handout, so it will be very useful for you. So I'm going to push that aside for now, get on my paper, and I'm going to start. So you may be wondering, what exactly is a cityscape? So in art, a landscape is any type of artwork, a drawing, a painting, could even be a sculpture, a print, of something that's outside. So it's usually a field, mountains, a valley, trees, where you see a lot of nature. And there are 2 very specific types of landscapes. One is a seascape, which depicts things in water or the ocean, and a cityscape, which depicts a city. So it's usually a downtown. You'll see a lot of skyscrapers, buildings. So we're going to be making a cityscape today. So step 1 has us drawing rectangles. So for our cityscape, we're going to turn our paper into a landscape, so it should be wide. And we're going to draw those buildings from the left to the right, and they should all touch the bottom. So I'm going to start with my first layer, and I'm going to use my ruler. And I'm going to start, now I'm going to do 2 layers, so I'm going to make my first row a little lower. So I'm going to start with some light lines. Now you know how I always tell you in drawing to draw it light until it's right. So I'm making my lines pretty light, so if I make a mistake, it's very easy for me to erase. So one trick I like to do when I'm drawing straight lines and buildings is I like to keep my ruler parallel to the edge of the paper. What that means is it should line up perfectly with that edge. So they should be the same. It shouldn't be at an angle like this. So I'm going to do my buildings parallel. And you do that on the edges too, or line it up with the edge there and go down. And so I've done 2 tall. I think I'm going to do another short building. So I want to have some variety in my buildings here. So I'm going to do a shorter building. And then this last one, I'm going to do back a little bit taller. Now our second step is to add another layer of building. So if you're maybe in 1st grade, or if you're a little more worried about your abilities, or you just don't want to do anything super difficult, or you're intimidated, 1 row is fine. I'm going to do 2 rows just because I want mine to be more interesting. So I'm going to do a second layer of buildings behind those because I love a nice big busy cityscape. So I'm going to start this one up here. Now you could do yours all the way to the edge. I'm going to start my first building off a little bit. And I do want to leave a little space at the top because I want to add some things up into my sky as well. So I think this building, I'm going to do real tall. This is going to be my tallest building. And I think that's going to be it for my second row. So there we go. I've already finished steps 1 and 2. Now, if you looked at the resources that I attached, there is some examples of artwork by an artist named James Rizzi, which I wrote up here. So James Rizzi is a contemporary artist. Contemporary means he is from very recent times. I think he just died a few years ago, so he was living and making art for a long time. But he lived in New York City, and a lot of his artworks were these beautiful cityscapes that were very colorful, that had a lot of detail and really come to life. So if you look at those examples, you can see a picture of him and the different artworks that he made. I like them because it's a beautiful cityscape, it's very colorful, and he gave life to the buildings. It's a very long word called anthropomorphic. Can you say that with me, boys and girls? Anthropomorphic. And that just means giving life to things that aren't really alive. So if I, drew a picture of my pencil and gave him arms and legs, then he would be anthropomorphic. So he would put faces and similar things on buildings to make them anthropomorphic, to make them come to life. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to add faces to our buildings. I'm just going to do a couple to save time so you don't have to sit and watch me draw too much, but you should be putting faces and doors and windows on all of your buildings, except that back row doesn't need doors because you wouldn't see those. But so I'm going to go through here. I've drawn out some examples of different faces that you could do. So I'm going to go off of my examples, and you could always change them and do your own. So I'm doing this fun little cartoon face here. The nose there. And I'm going to give it 2 big teeth. Lovely. Next, we're going to go, let's see, I'm going to do these, I like these kind of rectangle with rounded edges, which kind of look like windows. Which is going to make this building come to life. And these little curves look like eyelids, but they could also be window shades. I'm going to give him a big smile and some funky teeth. He's only going to have 3 in there. Okay. And this guy, oh, I really like this face that I drew, so I'm going to redraw that one over here. And I think it would look better if you center those features. So when you draw out the face, kind of try and put the faces central. Don't put them off to the side, but put them central in the buildings. I think that will look better. And ooh, this is a real funny mouth. I like this one. Ooh, yes. Very nice. Oh, forgot the nose. And okay, so that's all I'm going to do, but you should be drawing faces on all of yours. And then the final step, we're going to add windows and doors and details. So I've included windows. Doors are pretty much just rectangles, which you can go in and add yourself. So I'm going to add some windows to this guy. I'm going to add my door here. This little doorknob. I'm going to do some rounded windows on this one here. I think I'm going to do a double door at this building here. And ooh, I'm going to do some of these diamond-shaped windows. Those look pretty cool. And window shades. I think I'm going to do some simple windows up here above that face. Oh, I like these. And I did some of these funky windows that have a windowsill and a little cord hanging off. I like those too, so I'm going to add those. And that is what we're doing this week, boys and girls. So, follow the steps. I only did a few of my buildings, but I am expecting you to draw faces, doors, windows, and details on all of yours. And really look through those. James Rizzi artworks in the examples that I provided, as those could give you some ideas of maybe things that aren't on here. So if you wanted to draw like a sun up in there, hot air balloons, you could do, I know one of his, he had a nice divider and there was a sun on this side and a moon, and one was day and night. So you can be as creative as you want, but we're only drawing this week, and then make sure you hang on to these because next week we're gonna start outlining and adding beautiful color to these. Have fun, and we'll see you next week.